Welcome to Go Rangers Radio, where the New York Rangers are always the talk of the town. If you bleed red, white, and Rangers blue, hail the king, follow the bread man, and know how to spell Capo Caco, then you've tuned to the right place. And now, here are your handsome hosts, Kevin DeLury and Paul Cuthbert. They're not always going to get it right, but you can be damn sure they'll pretend they are. Now, let's go Rangers Radio.
Welcome to Go Rangers Radio, right here. Brought to you by Go Hockey Media, live from New York. A little pilot episode with yours truly, Mr. Paul Cuthbert, and welcoming my good friend, Mr. Kevin DeLury. Kevin, what's going on, buddy?
Paulie, what's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good.
You sound excited. You sound excited.
I am, man. I'm a little rusty, but I am excited, man. It's been a long time, but I'm really excited about doing this with you. And excited to just create this thing. The fan response, just even on Twitter and social media the last couple of days since we kind of announced this back in July and spring, and obviously ramped up everything marketing-wise the last couple of days. And now here we are. We're on the mic. We're getting things going. A little Islander lost last night. Big win for us in the preseason. These games mean nothing, but we're heading towards opening night next week. And I'm just glad to be here. So how you been, bro?
Yeah, really good, really good. I'm excited to get going with this as well. I feel like we've been talking about it for so long and planning and whatnot, and to finally be, getting going is definitely exciting. I think that we're going to have something, really unique and really, really great here that, Ranger fans are going to enjoy. I think that we have a fun, interesting take, on the team. It's not going to be, the typical stats and whatnot that's out there these days. I think we're going to bring a little humor to the table. And, if people can stand my Long Island accent, I think we should have a fun time over here.
That's a wonderful accent, Kevin. It's funny. Let's before we get into the team and I think, me and you getting back together here and the rebuild and where the team's right now, starting over and stuff. We got to go back just a little bit and kind of let the fans know how me and you know each other and how far we go back. It's got to be at least about almost 9-10 years. And, I used to do Hockey This Week with the guys and stuff. And me and you have done a couple of on-location podcasts with us years ago before the technology. I don't even think it was called podcasts. We barely even had Wi-Fi or broadband back then. But I know you were doing the blog back then. For anybody who's listening for the first time, I know everybody knows you because of the blog, but talk about when you started the blog, and that's how we found you. We were starting our little radio network, and you were the Ranger guy that, we called on to come on the show when we first started. But give everybody a little bit of background on the blog.
Yeah, sure. I started the blog back in 2007 as just, as a huge Ranger fan and someone who was on the internet all the time just looking for Ranger news. I just felt like it was all over the place. Back then, message boards were huge. If you remember, I'd be on the MSG message board, and the Rangers website would have their own message board, and then you'd have to go to ESPN for this and CBS Sports and whatnot. So, I felt as though I was really looking for a sort of a one-stop shop for blogs. So I was like, you know what? Let me put my money where my mouth is. And, I started my own blog where I sort of just started putting Ranger news out there and would give a couple of, sentences of my own sort of take, on the news of that time. And, I would basically just do it every day. I had 10 to 12 posts every day. I sort of went nuts with it. And, it sort of blew up from there. And really, as far as, hooking up with you guys, I was always looking to try to get the blog out there. And I know that you guys had, established yourselves as like you said, there wasn't a lot of podcasting going on, but you were one of the better ones out there for sure. So, I know that you guys had asked me to come on. I thought it was a great opportunity. And, I always thought we meshed real well, when I went on the show. So, I did the blog until I probably ended it, I think, 3 years ago. just complete burnout on my end, and family and everything sort of gets in the way when I'm now in my 40s, which is just amazing to think about. It was like, I think I was 30 when I started the blog. So it's sort of nuts, but yeah, I'm excited to sort of take this next step, to see where the technology is going. I remember when we went to the home opener the one year, and we were trying to do the live stream with the video, and we couldn't get the Wi-Fi, and I always
What was the name of that bar, man? It's still there, isn't it?
I forgot what it was called.
Pucky
where
Duck,
we were,
the Duck Puck or something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I felt as though we always wanted to take it further, push it further. What we were doing at the time, the technology just wasn't there, and podcasting is just so huge now. This is sort of, I think, the perfect spot for us.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I punched out too. We gave it a good run there, and it was. It's not easy, and it's funny because I think what we were doing ourselves and everything I was doing with hockey this week and everything, we were kind of ahead of the times a little bit, but the technology wasn't there. There was really no belief in it, and we put a lot of time and effort into it, and then it just got really tough to kind of maintain, as you know, too, because once you get going into expanding your coverage and then watching every game and the stats and everything else, it gets a little overwhelming. Now, at least today, and the other thing, too, is, Kevin, back then the teams themselves weren't caught up with with social media. I mean, they didn't even, I remember working with the Islanders and everything like that. They didn't even have it really back then. So, doing live broadcasts from the radio, because now everybody has them. And now the teams, too. I mean, they have their own shows. I mean, Maloney and John Giannone have their own podcast now and everything else. So everybody's doing it. It's all over the place. But back then it was brand new and the technology wasn't there, and it eventually did run out. So with me and you taking a break there, and I remember we also did a show at Mulcahy's too, the playoffs that year too. We got a lot of memories, always good times. But so this is cool. I mean, we fast forward here now. Myself personally, just when you're talking about getting older and stuff, and the kids getting older, and they get a little more free time, and the fact that it's a little easier to do these podcasts now. When I reached out to you, I was like, hey, why don't we give this a shot? Let's have some fun. And we might be a little reserved tonight here, just getting things going and the pilot thing and introducing ourselves to everybody again. But there's no doubt, Kevin, we're going to have a lot of fun with this. And I think more than anything, Kevin, it's the team. And we got to go back a little bit, too, in terms of where the team is now. Obviously, the Stanley Cup finals run there a few years back, and then the conference championships, the conference final championships, so many, the Tortorella, the coaching changes, everything else, all that happened. And then, Kevin, we get to the letter. I want to start there, man, and get your vibe now, taking us to where we are right now going into opening night next week.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, how about us, by the way, before we talk about the team, how about us completely jumping on the bandwagon of the team, now getting Capo Caco.
You weren't supposed to say that, man.
Oh, sorry. Should I not have said that? It's not like we started this thing last year when we knew that they were going to be terrible. It's like, oh, we got the brand new team and everything.
Timing is everything.
Yeah, right. No, I'm just kidding. I think that, to go to the letter, I think it was the perfect thing for the team to do at the time. I think that sort of run of success, and I call it probably almost the golden era of Rangers hockey, from 2005 until, 2017, when they basically made the playoffs every year but once. You make a lot of bad decisions, I think, in those times, I don't want to say bad, but immediate decisions, more about the now than short-term decisions than long-term, where you're giving players like Dan Girardi long-term contracts and Mark Stahl. You're trading away a number of first-round draft picks. And, eventually that stuff catches up with you, and it did. So I think the organization was smart to sort of reboot, trade a lot of their assets for picks and young players, and it's sort of coming to fruition now. So I'm excited for where this team is going.
Yeah, absolutely. Myself being, I do a lot of the, just in the early marketing for our new show here, the old Rangers back in, showing our age a little bit. But, myself going way back to days of JD when he was a player, and Espo and all those guys through the 80s and the Herb Brooks years and Michelle Bergeron, all that stuff. And here we are now. and the 90s, and they get burned out. And then, like I said, you just brought up, they had a great run. And Brad Richards and Martin St. Louis and all that, the emotional run and getting to the Cup and everything else. And the Tampa Bay series, everything else. It's incredible. And then it just all starts to kind of fall apart. And, I'll admit it too. You kind of lose interest in the team a little bit because, you kind of get burnt out, I think, also as a fan. I can't speak for the diehards. I mean, I'm a diehard, but I know there's guys out there that just, stick with the team through thick and thin. And I'm not going to, pass on any BS here. You pull back sometimes. I do that. But I'm telling you, man, when they changed with Gorton coming in and then, Sather in the letter, and actually getting a clean slate, I was like, great, man, this is good. And then, Vigneault coming in and then the change and then getting to Quinn. What do you think about the pick of Quinn coming in, and what do you think about his start here with the organization?
Yeah, I think he was the perfect hire. I mean, you're bringing a young guy who's, full of energy and obviously being on the college level is used to dealing with younger players and sort of developing them. I think he was the perfect fit. He really in his first year, I mean, the team obviously didn't have a great record and struggled at times, but they were playing hard every night, which is really what you look for at that point. The team could have given up a number of times, and they didn't. So I think that's a testament to him and showing that he really was, the perfect guy to bring in. They could have brought in a number of retreads that you see, over and over. They could have made Lindy Ruff the head coach. I'm shocked that he's even around right now. I mean, that's again maybe something we'll touch on, another day. But to me, when you're going to do this kind of a reboot where you're going to have all these young players in, I think having a young coach to sort of grow with the team and grow with those players is, the perfect way to go. So yeah, I mean, for me, he's been great.
Yeah, no, I like him too, and I think nowadays he's getting a little bit of firepower and some. His lineup has actually got a lot of personality now and definitely some talent. Who do you miss? I mean, you look at some of the guys who let go. Obviously, Zook and Hayes and some of the changes that the guys made. In the organization. Is there who do you miss? Who's no longer with the squad here? Before we start talking about where they're heading now.
Yeah, I mean, Zuccarello probably. I mean, he was just such an awesome guy to watch. I mean, he's the smallest guy, yet the toughest guy, on the ice. And, he was such like a lovable player. I mean, you just wanted to give him a hug every time, you saw him on the ice and stuff. So, seeing him go is really, really tough. That he was like one of those, just a fan favorite. And, he's a guy you really miss and you sort of wish they found a way to keep around. But, look, they had to make tough decisions, whether it's, getting rid of him or McDonough, buying out Girardi. Those guys were there, again, from, that time. And again, when they turned it around coming out of the lockout in 2005, 2006, when they brought in Jágr and Lundqvist was a rookie and you were sort of building. It's very similar to what's going on now. I think now is a little bit, it's sort of that. I sort of have that kind of excitement again. If the Rangers missed the playoffs for 8 years back then, after that, the conference finals in '97 with Gretzky and Messier, and they just fell off the cliff. And then when they came back after the lockout, and what was it? Sports Illustrated, I think, had them as the worst team in the league going in, and then they made the playoffs, and then again they had the Lundqvist, and they brought up Callahan, and they brought up Dubinsky and Girardi, and they drafted Stahl, and it's almost similar to this, and again they had Jágr, they brought in Straka and Nylander. I'm sort of getting that same feeling, but it's like on crack now because the players are that much better, because you have Panarin and you trade for Trouba. And you get the second overall pick in Capo Caco. I mean, this guy is like a generational talent. I mean, at least you're hoping. Where back in the day where you're talking about where sort of things are fizzling out when the Rangers are making the run, of those years in the playoffs, you're picking in the teens where, that type of player is just not available, or they're trading away all their first round picks. So, to be in this position now, where you're able to get a guy like that and to see after the letter for how quickly they were able to turn it around is truly amazing. I couldn't be more